Hey, QJ, get me another Arnold Palmer.
Screw you!
That's nice.
I can't tell if it's playful banter or if it's legit.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the ZBN podcast. This is episode 27. I'm your host, Spigel. We got an all-star crew for you today. XW Dot.
Hello.
Also known as Omni, using a strange voice. Xiaber is also here.
Hello.
And the co-host of 8 Brit, Piddle, is back. Ladies and gentlemen, Piddle is here.
Wait, I do 8 Brits?
You do now.
Okay. Well, I'm the most important person here then.
You're also the most British.
Your videos get more views than anybody else on this channel.
Yes.
Videos get more British.
What?
Your videos
So
get
if I
more
talk in a
British.
British accent, we'll get more views.
Oh, that's
gosh.
bad.
I
That
have
is
to-
bad.
I'll
Don't
see
do
what
that.
Dan does after hearing that.
Oh, man, that's not... Okay. So, we have been busy over the last couple weeks. Omni's always busy, of course. And we're busy doing other stuff. And we just debuted Space Pirate Radio. Everyone go watch it. But we're doing a big podcast today. This is a big, important show. We're loaded. For the longest time, we've been asking people, send us your user questions. We want to do a show with user questions. This is the user question show. This is a big user question episode. And a couple weeks ago, I don't know what that was, we did a 500 subscribers thank you video where we thanked everybody by giving away prizes and stuff. This is the episode where you're going to find out if you won. So if you want to know if you won the prize, stay tuned. We're going to let you know if you won the prize.
This is going to be a loaded
Then
title.
We're also going to, this is the title of the episode, that big, long sentence. So we're going to answer 6 questions today. Obviously, there were 4 prizes. We're just going to go over a couple questions, and then we're going to get to the announcing. And later, at the end of the episode, we're going to have more March Jorah's Maskness stuff, which obviously has also been a long time coming. Sorry about the delay.
It's May.
May Jorah's Maskness, and by the time we finish, it's going to be next year.
Hey, that sounds better.
Actually, May Jorah's Maskness does sound better than March Jorah's Maskness. So, I don't know.
Major
Whatever.
Maskness.
Major
It also sounds better than April
Major
Jorah's
Minor's
Maskness.
Major Minor's Majestic Maskness.
What are you talking about?
Did anyone ever play
topic.
that? It was for Wii. It was for Wii. That game?
Shut up.
No?
Topic.
All right. So we're gonna go questions. This was a long, extensive process deciding which questions won. So if your question didn't win, I'm sorry. I really wanted to give you the prizes, but I also didn't. So I don't know. So the first question. This is not a winning question. Sorry, but this is
Honorable
from,
mention.
Honorable mention. This is from
Congratulations.
Togua the Dangerous Cloud. I believe this is the guy who listens in Europe, in like Denmark or Norway or Switzerland or...
One of those.
I
I'm
like
glad
how
you
we
know
keep
him
track
so
of
well.
this.
I don't know. I just remember him saying it.
You just don't remember
We're
what
gonna...
he said?
Yeah. Well, no, I remember what he said. I just don't remember where he's from.
Anyways.
The question is, what do your parents think about the podcast? And the reason this question didn't win is because none of us have parents, but it was a thoughtful question. We're all orphans.
We're all orphans.
Yeah, I'm an orphan for sure.
Yeah, don't you know what the ZB stands for in ZB now?
Yeah. Dang it, Omni! I couldn't think of anything fast enough. Thanks. But I wanted to adjust this question a little bit. Instead of saying what do your parents think about the podcast, how about what do your personal friends and relatives think about the show if you've shown it to them? Anyone, just go ahead and go first.
Nobody in my
I'm a
family
special
knows
guest,
that this
so-
exists.
Nope, nobody.
No, well, my brother.
What the
knows.
heck? People know
My
about your
parents
stupid.
don't know. My extended family doesn't know. My brother does,
Huh.
and he's indifferent.
Wow, that's really nice. Piddle, your girlfriend listens to this show.
Yes, she does. No, she doesn't listen to this show. This show isn't
well,
worth her
great.
time.
Great. That's
Just kidding.
fantastic.
Just kidding.
Omni,
She hasn't listened to this show yet.
Does my?
Omni, does like your family or whatever know about your other stuff you do at least?
Yeah, they know about stuff I do on Artsy Omni, but not.
Do they like it?
They support it.
Do they go up to random people at the grocery store and be all like, "Hey, my son made this"?
No, they don't do that.
That would be like if Mick Jagger's parents, if they were still alive, like went up to people in the store like, "Hey, my son's in the Rolling Stones." It just doesn't. People don't just do that. I don't know. Maybe they do.
Some parents do.
I can see Omni's parents walking around, showing people, "Hey, have you seen my son's Smashified?"
My son made Rayman.
Yeah. They keep trying to talk Omni into, setting up a little shop on like Main Street and just do caricatures in Smashified.
They keep approaching random women that are around 23 years old. And
do you want to be Smashified?
I'm curious, actually. Do you ever get requests now from your friends to like draw them stuff, or is this something that's ever happened to you?
Do you have friends?
Actually, I got more requests to draw my friends when I was in school, but I don't really talk to my friends from real life much, so no. In fact, I haven't even
this question took a
formally
dark
mentioned.
turn.
I haven't even formally mentioned that I ever did anything on YouTube for Artsy Omni on my normal Facebook. So I don't know how many of my friends actually know I have 1.5 million views on my channel.
That's a weird kind of anonymity. If this channel ever gets successful, I'll tell everyone about it. I don't know. That's just.
I think I'm gonna use it as a gauge. I know that I've hit something big if my friends from real life mention it, and I never told them.
Hey, I'd hey, I didn't know you did this, or more like hey, have you seen this?
No, just I didn't know you were that guy. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, enough about
Omni,
me.
have you seen this?
What
awesome
other parents do we have?
Artsy?
Why enough about you? You're the main reason anyone even watches this stupid show.
Parents
Whole show should
are.
be about
Parents,
you.
please.
The legend.
Well, I can talk about my weird friends.
Do you parents like it?
My parents don't know about it.
Sweet.
Oh my gosh, you guys need to talk to your freaking parents more about the stuff that you're involved in.
Why?
My girlfriend
They
loves it.
probably think that you're smoking drugs in your room and talking to yourself.
No, they just think I'm video chatting with people. Or voice chatting.
That's true.
They just.
How would they know? How would they know you were voice chatting? You never say anything.
How about
Shots
you, Piddle?
fired.
Because they walk
Shots
into my room
fired.
and see me doing this.
Okay.
Is this question over now?
I don't even know where we're going with
Well,
this anymore.
I told.
Let's be
It
honest.
just makes me really sad.
This
I told
question is-
some of my friends, and one friend watches it, his brother doesn't for some reason. Another friend keeps forgetting to watch it. But
I
the
guess
one
it's
guy
better
that
than
does
nothing.
watch it likes it.
That's good, I guess. I don't know. I can't get any of my friends to watch the show. And
My friend that likes it.
my dad
Pretty much
knows
what
that I
I'm
do the
gathering
show.
from this conversation is we have no friends and we don't tell our parents anything.
Yep.
Well, I suppose
This is
that's a
almost a
lesson.
therapy session now.
That's a lesson for you all to learn if you're listening to the show. Talk to your parents. Make some friends. Don't stay inside all day and listen to our show.
Talk
Go-
to your friends. Make some parents.
Exactly. Make yourself parents.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's enough. Let's keep going. This is another question that did not win, but I wanted to do it because I really liked this question, but for some reason it just didn't strike that chord of being a thing that deserved to win. No offense. This is from Pikaboy TV. I think it's Pikaboy, like Pikachu. Pikaboy TV asks, I kind of just want to know, what is your main inspiration? Podcasts are all about facts and opinions being brought together in a great discussion. Well, maybe. So who or what inspired you guys to start the ZBN podcast?
I think you can answer that, Shay.
I actually have a
Spigel,
great answer. I actually have a great answer to this question. And this is actually going back to the first article I ever wrote for our website, thezb.net, currently on hiatus. It was an article about my trip that I took to IGN in October of 2014. My wife and I were on our honeymoon in San Francisco, doing things and having fun. And we went to IGN on a visit just to kind of just hang out with the people that inspire me so much, to talk about games. The people at Nintendo Voice Chat do a fantastic job. You should go listen to that podcast every single week on Friday. It's really, really good. So we were there, and at one point we actually went out to lunch with them. And at one point during lunch, I was talking to the host of that show, Jose Otero, And I was talking about my career and how I was in college for something I don't really want to do. And I have this, and I'm working dead end jobs basically to pay for it and to pay for college and stuff. And he said basically, F the job, just find something you like to do and make it your career. And I said, okay. So I was kind of just inspired to do some deep thinking about that. And I sort of started thinking, what do I like to do? And I like to play video games, obviously. And I said, well, what would be something that would make this worthwhile? This video game obsession I have, what would make it worthwhile? And so I said, what if we just started our own little community and our own little podcast? And keep in mind, we'd actually been podcasting for like a couple months before I even went to San Francisco. But I kind of just decided at that point, like, I need to really put more effort into this and make these shows, actually try to keep it on a weekly basis, try to get my friends involved and see if we can create something really special. And I hope we've become that to the people who listen to this show. Does any of that make sense to you guys?
Yeah, super much.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I
Thanks.
think it's
Actually,
funny.
It's perfect. And
I come here for the pizza.
I love how every time you mention the website, you have to say on hiatus, like it's an asterisk. You're like,
Look,
pending.
if I say the ZB.net, people are going to go check it out regardless whether it's on hiatus. So I just say it's on hiatus just so that people don't think like, well, they haven't posted anything since January or whatever.
Fair enough.
I don't know.
No, I think that's cool. I think I definitely get the vibe that Nintendo Voice Chat is like one of your biggest inspirations when it comes to podcast, especially in format and stuff like that. For me, it's
we like to keep it casual here.
yeah, for me, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I do watch a lot of Let's Players, and well, not a lot, but I do watch a lot of Let's Plays. Game Grumps, especially Nintendo Capri Sun, Chugga Conroy. I've discovered some new ones in recent days that I try to watch every now and then, but like just that casual conversation is something that I'm not very good at, and being able to do the podcast has helped me get a little bit better at it. So that's kind
We'll
of
actually we'll talk about that a little later in this show. There's a question about
we will.
that.
Oh no,
Yeah.
am I prepared? No.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, the podcast started because you started it.
Pretty much.
Well, thank you for giving me the credit for that. I know I could not do it without you guys. So, how about a little round of applause for yourselves?
Future Omni, give us some applause.
congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
Actually, the big thing that I'm gathering from this, I mean, it's really just what inspired you is just to do what you want to do, to like go out and be aggressive in accomplishing what you want to in life.
Absolutely. And the one thing I used to always think when I was a kid or when, before I started doing this was, I don't care what I do as long as it pays the bills and I can like do whatever after work. And I'm not so sure that philosophy applies anymore. And I want to be successful, but at the same time, I also want to be happy. So right now it's about balancing on that very thin line. And it's obviously been a struggle, I think, for a lot of the time. I don't want to get too personal because no one wants to hear that, but
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of growth ever since we started doing all this stuff, like just the project mindedness,
yeah.
like.
And I understand
Thank
that a
you,
lot
listeners.
of people, yeah, and I understand that a lot of people just came here because of what Omni's done and all that stuff, but I don't care. The point is that you're here now and you're listening, and I love that. I love that I can say something and that someone will listen and maybe want to respond, and that's honestly that's inspirational as well for me to know that people out there actually care about what we have to say. And I think I say something to that effect every week because I'm sappy. But
and then you offset
yes,
it
it's
with
true.
some sort of absurd mean
Comment like that. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I think we've answered that. Anyone else?
What inspires you, Xiber?
For me,
Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts?
this podcast actually reminds me of how, like, I would talk with my friends all the time about game-related things, and, like, a lot of these conversations that we've had on podcasts I've actually had already with my friends. So it's kind of interesting seeing how your opinions are so totally different than mine and my friends usually.
Yeah, I mean, you're typically the one who's kind of like, guys, there are other games besides Nintendo. You know that, right?
I know, like whenever, like when I was doing my list of games, Spigel's all like, "Oh, all of these sound like Black Sheep." I'm just like, "What?"
Yeah, because I have news for you. It doesn't matter what console Shrek 2 is on. No one's gonna vote for it.
Well, Spigel, you even said that Shadow of Colossus was a Black Sheep, and that was like the number one game ever for IGN.
Didn't it did it beat Kingdom Hearts? I can't even remember. It's been so long.
I think it did.
That actually surprised me, honestly. I didn't think the fan base was there. I didn't. And I was wrong. And
I've
whatever.
always thought that people like widely considered Shadow of the Colossus to be a work of art, and then a lot of people largely considered Kingdom Hearts to often be like a convoluted mess of story, which I don't know if you can really say that, but that is a
no, I'd back that. I'd back up that claim for sure.
So, you know, there's a lot of people who make fun of Kingdom Hearts for that, but there's not a lot of people who make fun of Shadow of the Colossus for any particular reason.
I hate the horse in Shadow of Colossus. I was happy at the end, but then it came back.
Oh, thank you, spoiler alert. Jeez. What if some people haven't played that game?
Would you like me to bleep that? To bleep bloop that?
No, I've already heard it. I don't care.
I mean, it's like, how many years old now? At least 10, right?
So? Piddle has games that are 50 years old in his backlog. He's got like Pong consoles on there.
Oh no, he spoiled Pong.
Oh dear.
What was the end of Pong? I don't even know. What
The left player wins.
You lose.
crap?
You never win.
So yeah, that's
all right,
that question.
What? Well, wait, hold on. What inspires you, Piddle? Michael Phelps?
Wait, I'm just a guest on this show. You can't drag me into this. What's going on here?
You can still answer the question.
What
did we bring you on for if you're not going to answer questions on the user question
He just loves
show?
us because he's cool.
Yeah. I love you guys. I love talking to you guys.
him.
It's exactly like Xiaber sort of talks about it, talking with a bunch of friends,
Yeah, and
talking about something you love.
I mean, you and Shay definitely have the capacity to get into this for a long time, and it's something I've noticed whenever we have you on. And I can just kind of sit back and just listen to you guys go back and forth. So that's kind
We
of
talked for
Damn.
we just recorded an episode of Effortless probably half an hour before the show started, and we talked for 2 hours. The episode isn't going to be that long, but we talked for like an hour off mic about just stuff.
yeah.
And
I don't
hopefully
know how to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to talk to people.
I think I talked to Spiegel more than I talked to my girlfriend.
Wow.
Watch out, QJ.
Not true.
The chemistry is real right now.
Like, watch out,
between us.
QJ.
How you doing?
Going on?
How you doing, Piddle?
You know this is an episode that I will not let her listen to now.
Why?
Well, she can't find that out.
She already found out you're a co-host to 8 Brit.
You're leading a secret double life as a British person.
What's the next
Time for the next question.
Next question.
Okay, so we're
Please.
gonna start announcing winners. If you've made it this far, I don't know. How far are we into this show? We're like 20 minutes into this already. So we are going to go with the third place finisher first, and this came right down to the wire. So I apologize. I'm not going to say who barely missed out on it, but keep in mind that you are going home with a Splatoon poster, an exclusive ZBN Splatoon poster. It has ZBN in big block letters written all over the poster, so it's ruined. But I'm kidding, by the way. It doesn't really. But this question, the winner of the Splatoon poster and third place and the first annual ZBN, I don't know, the ZBN user question episode is Wobstacat asks, "Hello, I would like to ask this. Do you think that Nintendo is able to sustain itself? I understand that it may come across as a vague, is Nintendo doomed type of question, but do you believe that there is something intrinsically flawed or perfect that keeps Nintendo going? Apart from tons of money, I wonder if there is something that Nintendo just does right and can keep it going. I hope that makes sense." I read that pretty much verbatim, so
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
It makes sense.
Largely.
yeah, it makes sense. I think it makes sense. Does anyone
so what do you
want
guys
to jump in and answer this question?
Is Nintendo sustainable? The way they're going exactly at this moment, I don't think so. But I think if they make some key adjustments, they can become sustainable again. I mean, they're on the cusp of being sustainable. They're just trying to figure out what they're doing wrong and eliminate those things. And I think they'll be fine. Like, they make great content. They just need to figure out how to deliver that content in such a way that people will buy it and that it's accessible to the mainstream, because currently the Wii U is not mainstream. It's not. Neither is the 3DS really. And I think they're working towards that with smartphones. I don't know if they'll ever get to a point where they don't want to make hardware anymore, but some people think that would be a good idea. I don't know. Like one time I was talking to my roommate and like, I don't know how you'll feel about this idea or concept, but what if, see now this is becoming a what if thing. What if Nintendo started making dedicated peripherals for other consoles? Like a gamepad.
That reminds me, I don't want to see Mad Catz Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you regarding the is Nintendo doomed thing. Like, no, they'll be fine. It's just because they've been around for 130 years. Like, they know how to run a business.
Yeah.
I mean, and obviously, the people who first started the company aren't still around, and companies do go under. I just feel like the way that Nintendo is structured as a very conservative company, I feel like they are sustainable in that sense because conservative companies usually are. It's just a matter of will they actually be very profitable. And they actually posted an operating profit again, mostly due to Amiibo was the report I read. So who knows? Who knows what direction they're going to go in at this point? They're profiting from things that I don't think they even expected to be profiting from. Like if you would ask Nintendo 5 years ago, do you think you can make a profit from putting out Mario toys? I don't think they would have said yes, because they probably would have done it by that point if they hadn't thought that it would be a super popular thing.
Are you talking about specifically Amiibos? Because they've been having Mario toys and such.
Well, that's not, yeah, but I mean like a big range of Nintendo specific toys that are in general very, I don't want to say well made, but very
they're central to what Nintendo is doing now. Like before, they were kind of just like ancillary to the business where they're just creating licensed merchandise and stuff like that. But now it's like
it's almost like that third pillar thing.
Yeah, this is a pillar of our business. It is toys, not just games.
As far as the Amiibos go, I don't know if you guys are aware, Forbes just released an article and talked about how Amiibos have sort of completely turned around Nintendo's business. And
I think that was kind of the article I was talking about.
Yeah, they're estimating $300 million, I believe it is, in revenue from Amiibos over the course of the next year.
Imagine if they actually made enough for all the people who wanted them. Imagine how much money they'd have then. Sorry.
That's
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
Well, according to Google, right now they have 812.8 billion yen, or about $10.5 billion in the bank. So they have plenty of time to figure out what they need to get right, and I think they are trying to figure this out. So I really don't think they're going to be failing anytime soon.
Right now,
it does feel like, yeah, go ahead.
Right now, it feels like before in past years, they've put a lot more focus on the role of a publisher. And these days, it seems like they're really strong as a developer, but not so much as a publisher. Does that make sense?
Can you give an example of that?
Like they develop really great content, but they're not good at partnering with third parties to be able to sustain their platform with content other than what they make. So it's like they're basically here's the games we make, and here's the box you need to play it.
So I think you're more saying that they're great as a developer right now, but they're weak as I guess in terms of making corporate partnerships.
Right, like as a medium for other delivery systems for content that they don't make.
Well, the only issue with that right now is that they're not getting multi-platform games, really. But they still have so many games only available on that system compared to the other two systems right now.
And I think they're doing a stellar job, like, being able to carry that weight on their own. And we've mentioned that plenty of times.
So I have a different direction to go with this question of whether they're sustainable or not. And that is that I sort of view Nintendo almost like a Disney. And Disney has not always been very successful in terms of their properties. There have been plenty of movies that you would consider successes that were flops. And they've gone through long periods of time where they didn't even create movies. Like 5, 6, 7 year gaps. And I feel like Nintendo is just at a point where this critical point where they're trying to figure out what they need to do in order to expand their business. And they've started with the Amiibos, and that's one direction. And I almost wonder if I have no doubt that they'll figure it out. They'll figure out how to be successful in the future. And I do think, but I don't know if I would currently say that right now they're sustainable.
Well, and they also have this new smartphone thing going on. We have no idea how that's going to end up.
Speaking of partnerships with other companies, I mean, you're right. They have the DNA partnership going on, and ultimately, it's going to be interesting. My number one story I'm looking out for at E3 this year is not Zelda, it's not Xenoblade, it's not Microsoft, Sony. It's going to be, what does Nintendo do about smartphone games, and will they bring it up at E3? And it's going to be really interesting to see. Are they going to? Well, that's not what I mean. What I mean is, are they going to have a big focus on it? Like, is it going to be like a big segment? Like, here are 3 or 4 games you can play by the end of this year on smartphones.
I would guess yes.
You think so?
I would think so, because it's smartphone. I mean, even though Nintendo is all about huge stuff and such, it's smartphones. And I feel like they're going to be able to have at least concepts or stuff that they will able to show for that.
Yeah, I imagine there's going to be a decent focus on it. Maybe not on the level that we expect for their other things like console and 3DS and stuff like that, but there's going to be a focus. I mean, maybe if it's just going to be like one block of time in their large presentation or something like that, but
yeah.
I mean, maybe they're going to have stuff on the show floor. I don't know. Maybe they're going to have a game already done. It's like, you can download it right now.
Right now? No, I think they said the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I don't think it'll be, but that'd be interesting for sure.
Cool.
So as a general answer to the question, I feel like we can all say, no, Nintendo is not doomed, but it's not necessarily sustainable at this rate for a long time.
But they have plenty of runway to adapt, and I think they're
Right.
going to be okay. Like,
that's one of the benefits of being a conservative company, is that
I feel like they do have the right mindset. They're really focused on delivering great content. The problem is their definition of great content is very narrow right now, and they need to expand it a little bit more.
and
it's also like we talked about on Effortless episode 4, plug Piddle. It's marketing. It's all marketing.
and that's one thing that they need to kind of get a hold of again, is that they don't really have as much of a hold on the Western market as they should, in my opinion. I mean, we view things from the perspective of the Western market, and they oftentimes view things more in terms of what's happening in Japan at the moment. And so it's kind of difficult to like quantify how strategic that the DNA partnership is, because we don't know anything about DNA, because we don't deal with DNA. So
if you want to answer the part of the question that says, is there something that's intrinsically flawed about Nintendo? That would be it. They don't look at it from a Western perspective.
At least not to the degree that they need to.
Right. So I think that about covers it. Any final thoughts on that?
No.
All right. Good enough for me.
I don't think so.
We're going to move on to the second place prize. This question is from a user who we've mentioned before on this show. This is from Smirg. His question is, and he also can be a guest on the podcast
Is it
now if you'd like to.
Smearg or is it Smiarg?
Smiarg?
Smiarg.
I guess he can clear that up when he's on the podcast.
Yeah, we can take care of that. So Smirg, make sure you have a good mic, and we'll contact you for further details. Also for Wobstacat, if you're listening, you can send the channel a message on YouTube with your contact information, so we can contact you and get you details about the poster. We'll do free shipping for you. What the heck? So we'll just need your address and stuff. So Smirg, don't need an address for you, because this is a prize that is worth its weight in gold. Get to be on the show with us.
Weight in gold is
these
zero.
all stars. Shut up.
Because this is an internet show that we...
It's a metaphor.
Well, of course we need his address. How else are we going to go down there and kidnap him?
Yeah, we got to kidnap you, bring you to the ZBN studio where we do all of our recording.
At our orphanage.
In South Africa.
What's the question?
The question is, music and sounds, visuals and aesthetics, gameplay, and story. Of these 4 categories, which do each of you value the most in a game? Which must a game have done well to keep you playing? Which category, when done particularly well, usually stands out to you and catches your interest? How would you rank them in order of importance? We don't have to answer all these questions because there's a lot of questions, but I like the general idea of the question, which is, what is the most important thing to you in a game? Like music, graphics, gameplay, story. What do you consider a game incomplete without something that isn't in one of those categories at an elite level?
I think I can start with this one.
Go ahead.
Go do it.
Okay, for me, the most important thing about the game is the gameplay. It is the core part of the game. Without it, you're not playing a game at all. You're just watching a movie or something.
Or you're playing The Order.
Yes.
What?
And like I'm taking a few game-related classes right now, and like that's the thing that they just keep branding into our head. Gameplay. That is the most important part. It's like you can have something that has wonderful visuals, wonderful music, wonderful everything, and have the worst gameplay ever, and people most likely will not want to play it. And that's pretty much true for me. Like, there are a bunch of games where I just absolutely love the gameplay. People are like, oh, the graphics are horrible. Oh, this is bad. I'm just like, yeah, but the gameplay is so much fun.
In direct response to what you're saying, I'm going to present you with this. This is a game I've been playing and plugging a lot on this channel recently. It's called Virtue's Last Reward. It's for the 3DS. Gameplay is you press A, you read the story. That's it. And before, I was always gameplay first. You got to have gameplay. Core gameplay's got to be amazing. And then I played Virtue's Last Reward, and I thought maybe I'm overvaluing gameplay a little bit because this game is really simple. And while it is simple, it is still what I would consider to be a game. So
Well, yes,
I'm not so sure anymore.
that would be what I'd call a strategy. It's like you pick the options, right? That is the gameplay.
Right.
It would be like playing a board game. You're just moving pieces, but it's all about what you do while It's what move you do. That is the whole gameplay there.
And at that point, you need to start defining what the metagame is. Like, what is Smash Brothers? It's pressing B or A in conjunction with the control stick in such a way that you can, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but that's not where I was going with that statement about just pressing A to advance the story.
well, okay, so here's what I think about that is the interactive medium is very broad, and we started defining things as games a long time ago, but like using some sort of external input to make something happen in a virtual world, there's so many ways to do that. Like, you've got visual novels like Phoenix Wright, and then you've got Super Smash Brothers, which is, there's like very little story to have at all, but they're all games, right? We call them games, but there's so many different balances that you can strike with all of these different factors like music and sound. Like Guitar Hero, it's all about music, right? And your ability to mash a button in rhythm. There's not much to that gameplay, and the visuals are practically, you don't even need them. But it's all about what you want in the experience.
Yeah, it's about the improvement, the rhythm. That's
So I guess really it's kind of subjective. Like all of it boils down to being part of the gameplay. The one that I feel like is most ancillary to gameplay is visuals and maybe sound as well, but those are really important from a support standpoint, because if you don't have good aesthetics and if you don't have good sound, the gameplay suffers.
So has anybody here but me played Xenoblade Chronicles 3D?
I haven't.
I played the Wii version.
I have not.
Okay, so I actually would tend to agree with you on this sense, because the blurriness that is experienced in your eyeballs when you play Xenoblade. I couldn't think of a good way to phrase it. When you play Xenoblade Chronicles 3D is, I don't want to say it takes away from the greatness of the game, but it
distracts.
It is distracting, and I'm not saying they should have toned it down to make it better, because ultimately at its core, yes, the gameplay is incredible, and I actually really like the story, and the music is fantastic. So it actually captures 3 of those categories, except for visuals and more specifically aesthetics, because the visuals are fine. It's just the textures are blurry and it looks kind of strange.
They're not good with faces.
No.
Monolith is not good at faces.
No.
Anyways.
No.
But back to Omni's point of how like a bunch of these other elements improve or deprove whatever the gameplay, it still has the focus on gameplay where like you have this bar graph where the first bar is gameplay and then you add a bit more or add less based on other elements. Well, if you still have to have that huge amount of gameplay, otherwise the bar graph won't go that high, it won't be that great. As a horrible analogy.
And I think I should emphasize the fact that it's not about, like, when it comes to visual aesthetics, it's not about how realistic is it. It's more than that. Like,
No.
sometimes realism actually detracts from the experience. Like, sometimes when I
Mario
see
games have great aesthetics, right?
yeah, exactly. Sometimes when I
And
see
you can't go
realistic
back and-
games,
You
like-
can't go back and play a game like GTA 3 without thinking, "Wow, this looks dated," because they
well,
went
not
for a
only
more
that,
real-
but like sometimes
Could you
when I'm playing an
imagine
ultra
Katamari
realistic
with
game,
realistic graphics?
oh my gosh, that would be crazy. But when you play like when you play a realistic game, sometimes it's so realistic that it's hard to gauge what you need to do in a gameplay standpoint. Like a platformer, it's easier to jump on a cube than it is to jump on some organic boulder that doesn't have a defined corner edge. Like if your table was a sphere, what's the top, right? So
Right.
sometimes simplicity of form actually makes gameplay easier to understand, and that's what makes Mario, like recent Mario platformers, easier than 64. Like everything is a cube in 3D world, but it's easier to manage it in your brain. Like I watch Aaron from Game Grumps play Mario 64 and he's terrible, but part of that is that the geometry of the world is hard to grasp when you don't have like stereoscopic 3D to help you with depth perception. So, you know, simplicity is just as important as realism sometimes, or even more important.
Sorry, going off that, it's sort of weird. I have played some platformers where there's dynamic shadowing, and you can't really quite tell where your character is when you jump because
Oh my gosh, yes.
because the shadow isn't very, it's not very detailed. It's hard to see.
Yeah,
And
like
it's supposed to be right on your character, but then like you play some of the Mario games and it's like the shadow's just this big old blob, and it's easy to tell where it's easier to tell your character is over something because of that, because you don't
Exactly.
have that
Yes.
stereoscopic.
and
So
like
that's an example of simplicity taking.
yeah, and like the lighting of that game, the cast shadow that your character casts on the ground makes zero sense from a spatial standpoint because the lighting is like from the side. So naturally, your shadow should be going off into the distance, like this really.
Have you ever
long
looked?
thing.
Have you ever looked down when you're outside and just like seen a big circle underneath your
Yeah,
feet? Like
that never
doesn't happen.
happens. It only happens at 12 o'clock sharp. But you know, and that depends on whether it's daylight savings or
Depends on how big your nose is, really.
or what time of the year it is. But you know, it doesn't matter if it makes sense if it's functioning the way it needs to, and that's one of the things that I appreciate about the Mario games, that functionally their visuals enhance the gameplay.
So really quick, I just want to drive it in this direction because this is something that Piddle has always been on about. And I'm surprised you haven't brought it up just of your own accord, but you always say that Nintendo recently has been so focused on gameplay that it's forgetting about other aspects of creating an experience. And you've talked about this on the other show, but just
I have.
just touch on it real quick, just to get that, because I want that perspective out there.
Oh, well, I've talked how Nintendo does such a great job now, especially with designing their levels in like Super Mario 3D Land and putting together that the level is progressively harder and harder. It introduces a simple concept, throws a little twist on that concept, and then maybe it introduces another concept, and then sort of combines everything all together to create a larger challenge towards the end of the level. So every level sort of has that kind of progression. They sort of went that direction with like Skyward Sword as well, with introducing how to like navigate the areas that you're in, and then making it a little bit more difficult as you expand and find more things in that area. But now, like, that's all their gameplay is now. So Mario, it's just that kind of level where it's always building on itself. And the design is awesome because it makes you feel like you're getting better and better. And those new twists continue to make things interesting. But they're forgetting all the rest of it. And for me, like a lot of the gameplay is like the story and everything, but the story, the exploration, and I think that falls under like the aesthetics of the game and everything. And that's not really there with the Nintendo games anymore. It's just so much gameplay focused.
When would you say they did have that?
I would say
Mario 64 is what he's going to say.
Yeah.
He's going to say Mario 64
is definitely one of my favorites. And I know Mario 64 isn't without its flaws in terms of gameplay, but it does have some great that sense of exploration, the world. Ocarina of Time had it. Majora's Mask started to veer towards more game design, or like good gameplay design. And then I think Super Mario Sunshine, they still had it to an extent. It was just that the world was very, I don't know how else to say it other than like samey. I mean, a lot of it was just
shallow, maybe.
It was always that tropical island resort kind of setting.
Yeah.
And I think it was Super Mario Galaxy where they really started to get away from that. And you just had like a hub, just like your hub world. And that was sort of it.
And you didn't really do anything in it, which was the main point.
Yeah. I mean, you could like look into the story by talking to like Rosalina and the Lumas and Captain Toad, but that was about it.
Yeah, like it was basically just a convoluted, not convoluted, but just a long-winded way of getting from one level to another. There wasn't anything to do in the observatory other than screw around and jump off and then get carried back on in a bubble. But there was no stars to be had on the outside. Like the castle, you could actually find things outside and find mysteries and hidden things and Easter eggs. But the observatory was basically just a giant
and
map.
I think that kind of exploration stuff, it's sort of, if anything, it's not just gameplay, it's not just good game design, it's also sort of telling the story, or it's allowing the player to fill in the story for themselves. And that's probably like a reason why people loved Metroid Prime so much, is doing all the scanning. That was up to you. That was exploration on your part. So you were filling in the story yourself.
Metroid Prime is such a freaking masterpiece.
Yes, it is.
Play it, Omni. Play it. What's taking you so long?
Life.
Okay, we gotta wrap this question because we gotta move on. We're taking way too long. Luckily.
Okay, guys. So
finish
if you
up.
had to put it in 4, I'm finished up. But just what was your top 4? Just put it in order.
Oh, okay.
Top to the bottom.
Rank it.
I'll go first. I'd say gameplay for me first. Then I would probably put the visuals and aesthetics, then the story, and then the music and the sounds.
Okay. This is tough for me because, like I said, I don't know if I still don't know how I feel. I'm gonna go gameplay, story, visuals, music. I think story is more important to me than graphics.
That is tough for me. I don't play a lot of story-based games, so I'm just gonna go gameplay, visuals, sounds, and story.
Ooh.
Actually, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like sounds and visuals are on equal plane. Like, that's how important I think sound is. So it's like
I totally agree with you.
Gameplay,
like
then all of the sensory things, and then story.
Like Ukulele wouldn't be as awesome as it is without the David Wise soundtrack.
David Wise, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, please
There
make
are
sure those
instances-
music, like their music needs to blend better. Right now it's banjo and Donkey Kong music. That's all it is.
Yeah, keep it like that. It's better that way.
It's escaping me now, but I do know that there are some games where like the sound's just great on me. But
yes. They can really
in the grand
detract.
scheme of things, like the sounds usually don't detract from the overall experience for me. That's why I put it towards the bottom.
Okay, Xiber.
For me, I have gameplay first, then I have music and sounds above visuals and aesthetics, just because the music and sounds will go farther than the game, where I will listen to soundtracks when
On
not even
Space
playing
Pirate
the game.
Radio, perhaps?
Yes, like Space Pirate
plug.
Radio. And then I have story and last, because a game really doesn't have to have story for me.
Okay. All right. Fair
Next
enough.
question.
So next question, luckily, even though I think it's a really good question, we should be able to do it pretty quick because it's pretty straightforward. But I still really liked it because it was really outside the box type of question. And I like those a lot because we just get questions about, oh, what do you think Nintendo should do? Or, do you think the original Metroid sucks? Yes. But here's the question. This is the first place prize gets a hand-drawn hextuple /omni/artsy omni artsy omni draws Z Beans portrait, which Z Beans is something that we were going to do, but we didn't do. But it all the caricatures that you see when you're looking at pictures of us and it's me and it's like a little hand-drawn thingy, that's what that is. So you'll get yourself drawn by Omni. And this prize is going to go to Greedy Goat Gaming. And the question is, my question is regarding podcast creating and commentary rather than video games. You tend to stay organized and on topic most of the time and bounce off of each other. Yeah, that's funny. And bounce off of each other very quickly and well. Have you ever met in person and do you do it regularly? What microphones do you have? Which one of you proposed the idea of creating a podcast? We already answered that. And does the good commentary just come through time and practice? And how do you keep motivated to keep making them? So all these are very easy, simple answers.
I can give you quick shot answers for all of these real quick.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So you tend to stay, blah, 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 blah. Have you ever met in person? No. Do you do it regularly? Yes. What microphones do you have? Blue Yeti, Blue Snowball, other things. Which
Guitar
one
Hero.
did you propose the idea for creating the podcast? Spigel. Does the commentary just come through time and practice? And how do you keep motivated to keep making them? Yes, it comes through time and practice. And Spigel.
I think
us
this
motivated to keep making.
I think this is actually the best part of the question. Does the good commentary come through time and practice? I don't know. I have not listened to the first episode that we did of this show. I have no idea if it was good. It might be terrible. I'm not gonna go listen to it because I'm scared. I know Xiaber.
Well.
I know Xiber's on it. I don't even know how Xiaber got.
Well, here's a
roped into-
question, guys. Do you feel like you have developed
Yes.
in terms of your commentary?
Well, yeah. When I turned 13, I started going through puberty. And
No,
I was-
I mean in terms of when we started. Come on, Spiegel.
okay, sorry.
Not when you were 5
It was
years
that.
old.
It was episode
What?
15, right?
What was the? Oh yeah, that was the episode that just went completely off the rails, and it was like, this is the show. This is the show from now on. I think.
I think the main issue is that we were talking to each other, like, not face to face and electronically. That was the biggest issue with this podcast.
We
Yeah,
weren't
and
a family back then.
As we've gotten to know each other better and we talk in video chat pretty frequently, not so much these days actually, but as the friendship develops, so does the commentary. The more that we know about each other, the better we can bounce off of each other. We haven't met in person because we all live in different states, but video chat can be a pretty close second to that kind of thing. So
wasn't one of the earlier questions, have you met in person and do you do it regularly? You said no and yes.
I thought he was talking about daily podcast.
we
regularly.
don't meet in person.
Oh, I thought he was asking about the podcast
Regularly.
too. No,
Yeah,
I'd
no,
love
we
to
don't-
meet you
we've
guys.
never met in person, and we don't.
I
meet
would
in
love to
person
meet you guys
regularly.
in person someday.
And regularly.
I don't know.
But
I like to
Everyone
regularly never meet you guys in person.
It's
I
wonderful.
would like everyone to be regular when we meet in person.
okay, cool. That's not going to happen.
I'm irregular.
What? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
But yeah, Spiegel was the one who started it. He was on this stint where he had to make the coolest idea on the Zelda board, and it started with the book
Yeah.
club, and then we
I was-
and then we did a
A
podcast.
club and
I was tearing up that Zelda board for a while.
Play every Zelda game in the series.
Yeah, it fell through because we just couldn't get people to keep up
Basically,
with it.
Spiegel, we just really wanted some attention, and
Yeah.
and this
Ultimately-
And we
is him
finally
doing
gave it to
that.
him.
We actually gave it to him, yeah.
Yeah, and it worked.
Shame
and
on
then
us.
I'm like, oh, I got addicted to it, so I had to make a show. So
Actually, it's a shame that our viewers, I mean, I would really love it if our viewers would check out your long thread about
about how I
through all
played
the
through every Zelda
games.
game.
Yes.
Yeah, I
that,
think
that
I
was
actually
quite impressive. It's one of his crowning achievements.
I really like the earlier
you've tried
games.
it. You've tried it, Piddle. You couldn't do it.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is, and it
I
was.
might have to revisit that though.
Granted, it did take me 3 years almost to play through every one of them, but it was such a rewarding experience. And if you guys ever find yourself on the IGN Zelda board, try to find the thread "I'm going to play Zelda," and you'll
You
see
should just
me.
link to it in the description.
No, I'm not going to because the early writing is really poor. I think
Just
I actually
link to page 30 in the description.
I developed as a writer a lot through that, actually, like practicing writing updates for what I was doing in the game every week and trying to make it entertaining and interesting for people to read. So yeah, I had a great time doing that. I'm gonna do it again when Zelda U comes out. I'll revive the thread and I'll do Zelda U, and it's gonna be really interesting because hopefully everyone will have a different experience playing through that game for the first time. Hopefully it's gonna be non-linear enough to do that.
So Omni, you have a Yeti, I have a Snowball. Spigel has a
It's
Guitar Hero
mic.
Activision Guitar Hero mic. It doesn't have a pop filter, but it's generally I think my audio is decent enough.
It is randomly decent.
Yeah, deal with it.
And then
I actually am using the same thing as Spiegel.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're multiplying.
We'll
then
convert you all someday.
Recently, Chris bought like the super high quality microphone, and I haven't heard the newest 8-bit yet. But when it comes out and it sounds like crap, I'll be like, Chris, why don't you just buy a $10 Guitar Hero mic?
Well, I'm
like I
pretty
did?
sure he got the snowball, so it should be fine.
Yeah, it should be, but who knows?
Unless he can't figure out how to use it.
That is one thing. You have to know how to
one-
use good equipment.
One of the questions we're going to answer next week is why do I hate Chris so much, and we'll definitely dive into that one. But it is now time to announce the grand prize winner of this thing that we did, and we are now pushing 50. So let's try to do this fairly quickly because we still got March Jorah's Maskness at the end of this. So this is from Sla 1987. Congratulations, you were the winner of the 3DS. I'll get your shipping information and all that stuff. Just send me a message and I'll get it out to you. How about Nintendo's mishmash stance on how they handle DLC pricing and releases? Fire Emblem Awakening was $3 per mission. Smash has Mewtwo for $5 or $6 or free. Mario Kart has the DLC, which was a pretty decent bundle, but is giving away 200cc for nothing. They also jumped into freemium, but with Pokemon Rumble 3DS, they limit the amount a person can spend, $30, that the person can spend on the game. He's saying that that you can only spend $30 like total on the game. Mm-hmm. So this is I thought was a really interesting question because I've actually wanted to talk about DLC on this show for a long time, and I don't think we ever really have gotten into it. So I guess the best way to address this question would be, what do you think Nintendo is doing right with DLC, and what do you think can be improved?
I like what they have done with Mario Kart, especially when they add the 200cc for free. That made a lot of people that didn't even have the DLC packs that cost to go play it, and then that could have easily had them go get the DLC packets then.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to play the F-Zero track on 200cc.
I think it's... Sure. Well, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I feel like he's saying something like, do you feel like there's a lack of standardization when it comes to how they price things and how they release things? But I feel like right now they're in this mode where they're trying to experiment with different models and see what works. And I think that's a good thing to do. But at some point, they do need to establish some kind of standard. I mean, stuff like 200cc for free, that's fine. Like sometimes you do have to come up with random one-time things.
I love the idea that they're willing to do something for free. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's a brilliant way to actually get people back to playing the game, so that they do end up buying more of the DLC content.
Exactly. Do you guys remember how much the Mii outfits cost for Smash Bros? Were they like 99
Isn't it like
cents or something?
75 cents per costume?
Yeah,
like that,
cheap.
They're getting into horse armor territory, though. I mean, like they make me want to buy them, even though I never even play as the Miis ever.
I play as Mii, but I can't play as them online.
That's great. I don't care. My point is that like even if you don't play as the Mii, like you haven't this impulse to just buy whatever they put out. Maybe that's because we're fanboys, but
that is it.
I think Nick's the only one that's bought them.
I've
Really?
bought them all,
You did?
Okay.
but I also use Mii's with my friends.
Yeah, Nick actually started playing as Mii's a bunch because of buying them.
Trying to
I actually
justify the
started
purchase.
playing more Mario Kart than Smash recently because of 200cc.
Yeah, Mario
That really
Kart
was
is
brilliant.
I think with their mainline franchises, you can see sort of a trend where they're trying to give DLC that's a really, really good value.
That is true. I will say the just sorry to interrupt, but the best thing they've done, all their DLC has been a fantastic value. Even the Hyrule Warriors stuff that was $20 for the quote unquote season pass, that's a lot of stuff. You get costumes, a new mode, new weapons, all that, like new maps, like basically expanding the gameplay by like 50 hours every time you buy something. That's ridiculous.
And
yeah,
then
there's
all these
a lot of positive reception to the way Nintendo has handled downloadable content with their big franchises.
And then all these games, you're only getting one game per console. So it's not like we're buying all this DLC and then suddenly it's useless because the new game comes out next year.
Exactly. And you don't get definitive editions either, which is something I love about Nintendo. They're not gonna like they do cash grabs big time, but that's not a cash grab that they go after.
Yeah, and I think
the real question is if they're going to continue going forward with freemium, and I mean sort of Fire Emblem Awakening, as Slaw 1987 brings up, that was $3 per mission, and that was a little bit too much.
Yeah, I think part of the issue with standardization is that when you have different, like the way you deliver features in a game, it's not always the same. Like you can't value, it's difficult to value a Mii costume in comparison to a track on Mario Kart 8. Like one of them is obviously more value than the others. So
right,
coming up with some sort of standard price for something just feels like a cheap way to get a lot of money for something that isn't worth that much. So the fact that the Mii costumes are only cents per costume, that makes sense to me. Pun. Anyway.
Pun intended.
Now the question is, will they ever...
Boo.
Like, they have the bundle with all of them, and it's the exact same price as each of them individually. Will they ever have sales on that?
Was it the same exact price? It wasn't discounted at all for the full...
I'm pretty sure it's the same exact price. I went through...
No, if you bought all of them, I think it was a little cheaper.
Really? Because I went, calculated, and it was, the exact same price.
Maybe
I don't remember, and
wrong.
I can't say. Maybe you did your math wrong, maybe you didn't. I don't know. We're professionals. We're not. We're amateurs.
If I had been told that we had to prep for this show, I probably would have done something, maybe. But
you're the one who runs this. You're the ones who's telling people to prep.
Oh, come on. I don't really run this. It's just, who really runs this? It's QJ behind the scenes. She's the one who controls when we podcast, because I'll be like, I'm going to do a podcast this morning. And she's like, no, we have to go close our apartment papers. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess I'm not doing a podcast now.
You.
Wow.
So overall, would you guys say that the mishmash stance is just Nintendo experimenting?
I would say so. And I think it's never going to be purely standardized, and I don't think it should be.
I mean, how can you standardize like Omni said? How can you standardize a Mii costume versus a Mario Kart track? Like that's not standardized.
I think what the big thing is, it's the mishmash is mostly because Nintendo knows the most effective way to make money is that the cheap sort of we're gonna drain your wallet of all the money you have by giving you 20
Amiibos.
missions for $3 each in Fire Emblem Awakening, or giving you freemium content with Pokemon Rumble 3DS and whatever other games that they release in the future. I don't even want to think about what they can do with freemium content.
I'm kind of afraid about the freemium thing too.
But I think
the cap is smart though.
But I think Nintendo knows, they know what the right thing to do is. And I think they're experimenting with what they believe is the right thing to do, offering great content for a reasonable price, and they're going to see if that is something that can be profitable, even if they're doing it the right way. And if it's profitable, they'll continue to go forward in that direction. But if it's not profitable, or they're breaking even, then it might take a shift towards a different direction.
I was just thinking about this. Could you imagine if there was a Nintendo version of a Steam sale?
Kill me.
At least here, there's less games to buy. So
yeah, that's the thing. There's.
It doesn't matter. I'd still buy them all. I would still buy them all.
I bought them all. I don't have to worry about Steam sales now.
I mean, that would have to pertain to eShop or something, right? Because there's not a large line.
Well, I mean, they actually do. They do sales frequently on the eShop. So, I mean, it's not
large.
So not nearly the same.
Yeah.
No, they cut 20% off Pikmin 3 a month ago.
Yeah, but Steam
Not
sales
nearly
often
the same.
do
How is it not nearly the
20%
same?
of the original
I'm
price.
thinking of Steam summer sales where it's 75% off.
Oh, well, yeah, they wouldn't do that because their IP is worth too much.
Well, also the issue is that they kind of do take forever to lower the price of the online games. I could get a digital copy of something for so much cheaper than the online version.
But
that's
why
a big part, because they want to offer you the value. Nintendo has been like this since I remember the GameCube days, and people were talking about well, why don't you ever reduce the price of your games? Because they're still smelling Super Smash Brothers Melee for $50. 4 years after it came out. It's not even a player's choice yet, while all their other games are.
It's still $50 or $60.
Well,
it eventually was 30, I believe. But
no, they did eventually bring it down to player's choice, I believe.
They're very committed to what they believe is producing content that has a lot of value to it and is worth the price, and that's why they don't ever reduce their prices.
And I mean, people buy them, so clearly
that's the
people
other thing.
value
They have,
them that much.
These
right?
games have incredibly long tails, right? Like the Mario Kart 8 will be selling well at the end of the generation. It just recently re-entered the charts. And I mean, granted, that's because of the DLC, but it's still, even for a Wii U game, it's still selling incredibly. Like it's almost got a 50% attach rate. So one can imagine that by the end of the generation, 50% of Wii U owners will still own Mario Kart 8. So, I mean, that means the number is going to keep going. So why would they reduce the price when they're still making all the money they could ever want on that game?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
so
I don't know how we
Apple
went.
products, right? Like they're
Yeah.
stupid expensive, but people still buy them because
Marketing.
they think
For
it's
now.
valuable.
What do you mean for now? Apple's going to be successful forever.
Apple
They're
has stopped innovating for a long time.
Apple never innovated.
Yeah, they
Shots
weren't even the
fired.
first MP3 player. No, you're totally right. They weren't even the first MP3 player.
They
just did it-
refine. They don't innovate.
They
They've
did
been
it cleaner
refining
than
for
anybody
a long
else.
time. Like
Yeah.
the last time they innovated
Apple's
was
very
like
big
the,
about.
like the Apple II or what. Like their personal computer was one of the first times when they did like a visual display, and they weren't the first ones who did a visual display. That was the friggin' circle thing, Space Wars thing. I don't remember what the computer was called. So very rarely do they actually create something new. They just take good ideas and refine them.
To bring
We
it all
also
to bring it
have
all back
viruses
around.
showing up on Macs now.
They're very big about taking ideas and presenting it in a way that is very appealing to the general public and easy.
And
And to bring it all
masking them
back
as if
around,
they're new.
If I can,
This podcast is about Apple.
if I'm allowed.
No, you're not
to-
allowed, Spigel.
I see my hosting duties have been usurped.
This is April Fool's.
Oh,
Mutiny.
okay. Xiber's now the host.
This is
again.
April Fools.
April Fool's.
So to bring it all back around, you actually mentioned that they are not at their best when they're innovating and they're actually refining something that that someone else had done. I think maybe Nintendo could possibly be in that category, although we've always thought of them as these great innovators. They are refining the way that companies treat DLC, and I feel like they're doing it better than anybody else. I feel like when they came out with the NES, they said we're going to do video games, but we're going to make them. We're going to put a standard on it and say you can't release this unless it's up to our level of quality. So maybe Nintendo is kind of the same way. They're at their best when they're refining something that was previously thought to be good enough. Does anyone have any thoughts on that? Am I
mean,
totally
innovating
crazy?
is hard.
That's
Innovating
not
is
quite true
stupid.
for a lot of other things they're doing, though.
Like what, for example?
Like
Like
a lot of
online?
other, yeah,
Online
a lot of
do-
other online issues.
Online doesn't count. Let's throw that out.
Actually, I'm throwing this out there, but like I did talk about how I feel like they're trying to do the right thing with the DLC, and that sort of reflects what they're doing with their console. They're trying to do the right thing with the console, with their consoles, with sort of putting up restrictions to make it more of a family-friendly console. I mean, they've said specifically like, well, we don't want voice chat in Splatoon, for example, because of like the toxic players that end up pervading every community that you try to play like online shooters on. So they're trying to do the right thing, even if it's sort of hurting their business in the long run.
And I don't know if that it's really hurting. It's just detracting from their profitability for any given instant. Like.
Well, I think
you're
it also
right.
hurts their. I think it hurts their reputation more than anything.
It does,
because
but that part of the reputation has been well established and cemented for a long time. It's like the whole censorship, or trying to make sure that everything works in accordance to a family-friendly setting.
since Mortal
stuff like
Kombat
that.
2, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like their reputation has been where it's been for a long time. Not a lot has changed in that regard. They're always regarded as the family-friendly console for babies that, if you're open-minded enough, people play it and they like it,
So say what you want about Nintendo, but am I wrong in saying that they're like easily the most interesting video game company out there? Like the major
fanboyish.
companies? Is it?
Well, it's
Totally.
kind of interesting
Well,
because
no. When I say
something like
interesting,
the most,
no. When I say interesting, I don't mean like they have the best games and all that. Like they're the most interesting to talk about. Like I feel
they're
like
the best interesting.
I feel like they have a lot
Well,
of
that's
aspects
all
to their company that
subjective.
make for I feel like they have a lot of aspects that make for good conversation pieces. That's all. Even among people who aren't Nintendo fans, I feel like we can.
I feel like what you're saying is they're very controversial.
Yeah, is that not correct?
Probably. They are probably the most controversial company, and that does make for a very interesting conversation.
It's interesting because they don't just go with what is the normal. They actually think, hey, why is this normal? Why should we have this? And sometimes, like voice chat, they disagree with it.
Well,
what they should do, though,
they're wrong about voice chat.
They really ought to make a party chat thing like Xbox, because I don't understand how that hurts, because if it's always friend-based...
You know what they would say? They'd be like, some people don't have friends, so we don't want to leave them out, so we're not going to have voice chat. I feel like that's sort of Nintendo's approach in this situation. All right.
I think that's sort of more of a hardware issue where, I mean, not technically hardware, but like they didn't at first think of doing that for the Wii U, and they probably not going to. Like they have the NX coming up and stuff. Maybe they're thinking about all this for that.
Yeah, maybe now that they're finally thinking about a unified way to do certain things, maybe they'll have a unified way to do voice chat, which they should.
You know, this is why this was the best question to go with, because look at what just happened.
Yeah, it evolved into a whole philosophy conversation. So, congratulations.
Because Nintendo is interesting.
Yeah, congratulations, SLA.
Yeah.
1987.
SLA 1987.
I wonder what that name even means. I have no idea.
Is it your initials and the year you were born?
I guarantee you this. He is not going to contact me about the 3DS. There's no way. It's going to be like, well, I'll give an update on this next week to see if he actually contacted me. So we have to wrap this. This is, it's not way too long, but it's way too long. So we still have March Doors Madness update coming up right after this.
Just do it in a different video, man. Just do it in a different video.
I don't know if I've been teasing it throughout the whole video. We can't not do it now.
Too late.
All right.
I just told you to do it in a different video.
So everyone who won, that's Greedy Goat Gaming, Wobs the Cat, and Smearg and Slaw 1987, contact the ZBN YouTube account with your information, and we will get back to you. And if they do not contact us within 2 weeks, your prizes are up for grabs.
And if it's easier, just go to the page and click about. Go to the YouTube channel, click about, and we might have our email address if it's easier.
It didn't even occur to me that people might not know how to contact us through YouTube. So
it's not easy.
Find a way. You can also do it on Facebook at the ZB Network. That works too. Just let us know who you are. And I don't know, anyone else?
Now there's going to be a lot of imposters saying, I'm Sloss 1987.
I'm Slaw 1987. Like,
make a comment.
Actually, you don't have the email account in the About section.
No, we'll put it there.
Okay.
Yeah, right now. I'm doing it right now. Literally.
Hosted by the lovely people at www.thezb.net.
I can't believe how long this outro is. This is unbelievable. So if you liked the show...
do what you normally do when you like.
You may want to consider checking into a facility of some kind.
Facility...
But really, no. Like the video.
That still has internet access.
Like the video. Leave a comment. Hey, now that we've finally answered those user questions, you know that we're going to do them. So ask us more questions. We're going to do more questions next week. Some questions we didn't get to this week. There's still some good ones that I want to do. So,
bye.
Yeah, bye everybody.
Bye.
Tell your friends. I don't know. For Hex.
Tell your parents.
Hex/Omni, Xiaber, and Piddle, and me. I'm Spigel. Thank you for listening to the ZBN podcast. We had a great time today. At least I did. Have a great evening. The end.
It's a me, Spigel.
It's a we, Spigel me.